Joining us is New York Congressman Mike Lawler. Welcome, Congressman. What is going on with these threatening, dangerous protests on college campuses, some of which are happening in places where you were familiar? You're a member of Congress. You're following this. I mean, what is going on these college campuses?
Well, unfortunately, Trey, anti-Semitism has been brewing on college campuses for years. These students have been peddling in it, promoting the BDS movement, and really, obviously, in the aftermath of October 7th, it has been hypercharged. And Congress must act to crack down on it, because these universities and college presidents and administrators are failing in their responsibility to keep these students safe and to ensure that there is a free exchange of ideas, but based in truth and reality, and not anti-Semitic rhetoric designed to threaten and target Jewish students. And so that's why this week we're going to be voting on my bill, the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which will require the Department of Education to adopt the IRA working definition of anti-Semitism and all of its contemporary examples for its discrimination enforcement cases. You have to be able to define it and crack down on it. And that's what we're seeking to do, because these administrators are failing miserably.
Congressman, I think you anticipated my next question, and it's also the question our viewers have, which is they're wondering whether tax dollars or public monies are going to schools that either can't or won't condemn racist, anti-Semitic activities.
Well, that's bottom line to me is you need to be able to define what anti-Semitism is, enforce it. And if schools are failing in the enforcement, then they need to be stripped of federal dollars, including student aid. And that's why I introduced the Stop Anti-Semitism on College Campuses Act, which would defund institutions of higher learning. I think when you see what is happening here, you have a situation where there's clearly paid agitators and protesters who are involved in this. The New York Post reported on this just the other day. With these outside groups funding many of these protests on college campuses. But you see that oftentimes it requires the power of the purse to get these institutions to act. And the threat of taking those federal dollars away surely will cause many of them to do what they should have been already doing, which is put an end to these protests, because they're not rooted in fact, they're not rooted in reality. They're rooted in anti-Semitism. And the fact that these schools have allowed it to happen, knowing full well that if these were protests against black people or protests against immigrants or protests against gay people, the schools rightly would have cracked down on it right away. But they are allowing it to happen under the guise of the Israel-Palestinian conflict. But we know what it is. It's anti-Semitism at its core.
Congressman, before I let you go, I want to listen to the president together with you and then ask you a quick question on the other side.
Do you condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses?
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
He reminds me of his old boss, President Obama, when he says, I condemn burning children alive and using rape as a weapon of war, but I also condemn trespass in occupied land. I mean, there's no equating Hamas with Israel. So what do you make of how this war is impacting American politics?
Well, clearly, it's having an impact on electoral politics. Chuck Schumer calling for regime change, Nancy Pelosi calling for Netanyahu to resign, the president trying to have it both ways here. They're concerned about Michigan and Minnesota and other parts of the country. Rather than the reality. Look, I want the Palestinian people to be free, too, from their oppressor. Their oppressor is Hamas, not Israel. Israel is not an apartheid state. It is a democracy, the only multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious democracy in the Middle East, and one of our closest allies in the world. And we should be standing shoulder to shoulder with them and working to root out terrorism across the globe, including Hamas.
Congressman Mike Lawler from the great state of New York, thank you for joining us on a Sunday night. I will continue to invite you on as long as these issues exists, and I'm afraid that's going to be for a while. So thank you for joining us.